Hi everyone. Yes, we are here. This is Jewish Talk, coming to you from NASA Community College on 90.3 WHBC, also streaming on the iHeart and the iTunes app. This program is later archived on Spreaker.com. So hi there. My name is Rabbi Perl. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, because I know many people don't just listen to us on Sunday morning, but Michael likes to hear us again at 11 p.m. on Sunday evening. Of course, again, all depends on when you are listening or watching, but to whoever, whenever, it's hello. Hello on the radio, hello online, hello to the world. I'd like to begin today by reminding everyone that in the Jewish calendar, that's the 22-23, the year 5783, this has a special name. It's called a Hakel year. This is when we would gather in biblical times to gather together in the temple to learn, to share inspiration, and to unite. And therefore, in honor of this great Hakel year, not only was it the beginning of the year following the high holidays during the holiday of Sukkot, but the entire year has been proclaimed an opportunity for us to come together. And now that Hanukkah is just 2 weeks away, it's a beautiful, light-filled holiday when we bask in the menorah's glow, we munch on delicious donuts and latkes, and we express our gratitude for God's miracles. So during this year, the Hakel year, when we celebrate at parties surrounded by friends and families, we relive old memories, we create new ones. So in this year, the Hakel year, when we gather the world over, let's make an extra effort to invite more guests, to make more gatherings with more meaningful time and insights, and spread the light of Hanukkah wider and brighter than ever before. And part of that great gathering will be taking place on the very first night of Hanukkah. That is, of course, Sunday, December the 18th, from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. will be our famous, uplifting Hanukkah telethon. It can be seen online at HanukkahTelethon.com. You'll be able to watch it on News 12 Plus, that's channel 61, and the JBS, Jewish Broadcasting Services, on channel 138 throughout the East Coast and beyond. So please make a note of that. But in general, let's celebrate Hanukkah with greater unity, with great inspiration, bringing more light to the world. With that in mind, I want to just share with you, I know this sounds like a downer after the uplifting thoughts about Hanukkah, but in today's Newsday, Sunday, December the 4th, you will find an article that yours truly was invited to share. And this was a question that was brought to the attention by Newsday on their articles asking the clergy. And the question was, what can we do about the rise in hate crimes? And wonderful leaders were invited to share their thoughts. And now, therefore, I'd like to now just share with you briefly what my thoughts were. And you're certainly welcome to go back and read all the different opinions. And I would like to say the following as it relates to the current increase of hatred in general and anti-Semitism in particular. I must let you know that at their core, those who hate others actually hate themselves. Beneath their macho exteriors lies a profound emptiness, a vaping hole in their souls. People who hate, they subconsciously sense that the ideology is false, their beliefs empty, their lives are void of any meaning. And when you are empty, you hate those who are full. When you lack meaning, you envy those who have it. The hatred is a symptom of their anger at themselves, which they refuse to face, so they project it on others. If you want to know which ideology is destructive force of an age, look at the people who hate, and particularly those who embrace anti-Semitism. The Jewish people of all times, under threat of annihilation, did not become less Jewish, but more so. because we don't fight emptiness by becoming emptier. And we don't make someone else's problem into our problem. So in the face of irrational hate, we stay proudly and defiantly Jewish, trusting in God and loyal to our people. While we hope that all those haters will one day find meaning to fill their void, we will not sit by and be victims of those who haven't. We will continue to fight evil and emptiness by bringing more light to this world. Thank you. Thank you, dear friends. Thank you for listening and allowing me to share these thoughts with you. On a lighter note, I know that everybody, in fact, I know people who actually travel to Qatar to watch the World Cup. And I was sharing in my synagogue yesterday, what is it about soccer or football that makes it the world's most popular sport? The Olympic Games, for example, include way more countries. 206 countries are projected to participate in the Olympic Games in the year 2024. Here we have the World Cup. Do you know how many countries involved? In total, 32 countries. Yet, the World Cup has more than 1 billion more viewers than the Olympics. The only thing that has more viewers and listeners is my program on Sunday morning. And why is that? Why? It's only one sport, the World Cup. How come? Why is it so popular? So I thought about this a lot. And I want to share with you some ideas. But of course, an idea that should elevate us and bring us to a higher sense of consciousness of how important every human being is. Football is an excellent metaphor for the supremacy of the legs. It was 43 years ago that the Rabbi Schneerson, he began a great campaign, and it was called Return the Hearts of Fathers by the Sons. Basically, the Rebbe was saying, we can encourage our children to help their parents live more meaningful life. In particular, at that time, it was about preparing for Passover. That children can help win over with their youth. And a lot can be learned and learned from soccer, football. And that the Rebbe went on to say it's worthwhile to explain that children who are very interested in this game can learn from it and will actually elevate them and elevate their parents around them. And the Rebbe went on to explain that the spherical soccer ball, the ball that we play with, is really a metaphor for the earth, the spherical earth that we live on. In fact, in the Jerusalem Talmud, on page 3a, explains that the world is round. For Alexander the Great ascended on an eagle, says the Talmud, until he saw that the world was a sphere. Interesting, the Talmud knew about this way before others, discovered and determined the world was a sphere. What's the significance of knowing that the world is like a sphere? And goes on to explain. The purpose of life is to kick the earth into the king's gate, or the king's goal. The purpose of life is to bring the world under the purview and the leadership of something all-transcending, something higher. For the task to be worthwhile and rewarding, God created a rival team, just like we have two teams, playing against each other. There's an opposing goal, the two goals in life. We have an entrance into the king's gate, so to speak, one goal, or we have an entrance into hell. Fighting the desire to kick the ball to the king's goal stands, of course, the other instinct that struggles with all of its strength to repel the earth from a righteous goal to the opposite goal. And exactly what's going on in the world today. The world is in a battle between something extraordinary, important, and all-transcending, or a focus of a goal of selfishness and materialistic ideas. Our goal is, through divine practice, so to speak, is to propel oneself forward against these selfish inclinations and to advance the ball, in this case, the sphere, the world, the globe, the earth towards and into the right goal. Here comes the real kicker. No pun intended. The kicker that sets soccer, football, apart from all the other sports, that makes it this beautiful game. The way to advance the ball and to score a goal is with your feet. Football is not played primarily with the head or the hands, but with the lower part of the body. The qualities required for the game are not a strong head, a strong intellect, but strong legs. The ability to run with balance and speed and control. We have genius coaches and trainers. They may sit at the stands of the field and who know what needs to be done. But if they take them down to the field, if they themselves went out there, they would collapse in half a minute with shortness of breath. In contrast, the young people running on the grass, they are not perhaps the greatest geniuses. They do not necessarily know how to explain the exercises they themselves do, but their legs and feet have no equal peer. A man said to his friends, "We're starting a soccer team in the neighborhood. Do you want to join?" He replies, "I would love to, but I don't know anything about soccer." Excellent. We also need a play-by-play announcer. The way to win the game of life and to fulfill the mission handed down to each and every one of us, which is to put the globe, the ball of the world, the ball into the king's goal, requires no announcing skills or profound, analysis. All we need is our feet. We don't have to understand everything. We don't have to know everything. But what we do have is to devote ourselves of bringing those ideas to practical realization. In the end, this is what shapes us. We become good because of our practice, because of what we do, because of how we know to be able to kick the ball into the net. Now it makes sense why 3 billion people watch the World Cup. Because, in a sense, says the Baal Shem Tov, every one of us in life is trying to get that ball into the right goal. We're all trying to find purpose in life. We all want to win. We all want the ball to end up fulfilling God's goal. When we wish for the victory of our team and cheer for it to overcome the advantages of the opponent, we yearn for the awakening of that positive forces within ourselves to be able to stand up against those destructive factors that disrupt our lives. When we follow the fast movements of the player's feet, what do you think we're doing? We're asking to imitate them. That our feet, too, should move us in the right direction and push earth to its last inches into the King's Gate. My friends, something to think about, especially when the world is so focused on the World Cup, and to remind ourselves we, too, are on a team, the team of humanity. The team of humanity stands up for what is good and what is right, what is moral, and how we all are striving to get our football, our globe, or the world that we live in. Every one of us has a world around us, within ourselves, to make a difference in this world and to make it to the right side, so to speak, to the right goal, the goal of goodness, of kindness, the goal of gratitude, the goal of a life filled with serenity, with life, with purpose. And with that in mind, I'd like to continue our conversation from last week. You can't imagine the response that we received, because we had began a conversation that I'd like to call upon, or like to express as being part of 7 paths. 7 paths of how to live a life of love, purpose, and serenity. I think everybody would like to master life rather than being mastered by it. And therefore, we've begun this conversation. How we can open up ourselves and empower ourselves, the way we think of how we see ourselves in this world. To be able to engage in life in a more proactive way, in a more open way, in a more caring way, in a more clarity of conscious way, and find ourselves connected to a life filled with fulfillment and meaning. We began this conversation. I continue it today. And today, as part of the 7 paths that I like to call them, we like to discuss the concept, especially as we talk about the World Cup, of how all of us can become a co-creator of our existence. I know those are powerful words, little bit out of ordinary for an early Sunday morning. But how can a person become a co-creator of their lives? You see, when we talk about the 7 paths, the foundation of these 7 paths actually lays the foundation for the rest of them. The first of these 7 paths reflects around absolute monotheism and the negation of all forms of idolatry. Hang with me, dear friends. What does it mean to negate idolatry? It means move away from worshipping any power other than the one. Any false deity, anything with the form and anything created, that's what we talk about. Keeping away from things which are created. We're talking about a life that's filled with a relationship with the Creator, not with what is created. In its modern, broader definition, this law includes negating the deification of human beings, of money, of security, of fleeting pleasures, the power of fame. We do not seek salvation or blessings from anything with a form, because the true source of goodness is without form or limitation. When a person lives a life of transcending, they become the vessel for unsending an infinite aspects of blessings. A person who lives with finite things around them becomes enmeshed, as I will soon explain. While this negation may at first appear restrictive, it is actually infinitely affirmative. If, as many ancient people imagined, a deity had form, by its nature, it would be limited and finite. It has this form over that form, so it's finite. Its assumed blessings would be conditional and limited to exclusive groups or beliefs. This finite over that finite, this belief over that, all within the world of finite and limitation. As a separate entity, it would need to compete with and overpower other entities in order to gain influence or rulership. And what happens when you want to be bigger than someone else's finite perspective? We create disagreements and sectarian divisiveness. In contrast, when we all worship the ultimate source of all possible forms, it opens up all people, it unifies all people, and the blessings, therefore, are limitless and ever abundant. The benefits of centering our lives on the one Creator, my friends, are infinite. Absolute monotheism is again faith in the fact that there is a single source of power upon which we rely for all of our needs. Our life depends only upon one Creator of all life, of all human beings. Our life depends only on that Creator of life, acknowledging that the Creator intimately loves every one of us and cares for what we are doing and desires that we take care of ourselves, of each other, and of this great globe, of this great world. Our effective way to cultivate this awareness that the single source of all is always with us is to carve out a time or times each day to take, let's call it, a moments of silence to which we open up ourselves and feel the presence of the divine. This simple silence can become a contemplation, an affirmation of the fact that there is an eye that observes us all, an ear that listens to all of us, and everything that we do is recorded, written in a heavenly book. In other words, our Creator is always watching over us, listening empathically, compassionately, recording our progress, rewarding goodness, and noting where we strive to improve our lives. When we realize that our Creator surrounds us with guidance, with support, designing all of our experiences in life for our spiritual and ethical growth, guess what? We begin to center our existence on this singular presence. The more we bring that into our lives, the more infinite, the more transcending, the more uplifting we become. Again and again, we take up the commitment not to subtly worship anyone or anything other than the Creator, the one who renews the act of creation at every moment in infinite wisdom, giving us all life and to the entire universe and everything in it. So, to put it bluntly, to worship money or honor, power, pleasure, or even celebrities and heroes is to make oneself subordinate to these things, is to make oneself and one's deeper values smaller. It is in that way of looking into life, a person who does those things begins to live small. Such misplaced worship also falsely asserts that the source of life is small. It's this celebrity, and it's that hero, and it's this honor, and this money. No. What happens? We come to realize that the source of life is small and not infinitely good by nature. And therefore goodness and satisfaction need to be obtained from alternative sources. It is impossible for one to have a deep faith in the Creator when he is placing all of his faith in other things around us. Having faith in the Creator means understanding that the nature of good is to give goodness. The giver of life is infinitely good, always seeking our best interest and finding ways to fill our lives with goodness. The Creator of life desires to give life. Hashem wants to give us the best. It's not about what God is, it's about how we can become part of that. Knowing that everything God does, He does for the best, enables us to say, in any situation in life, this too is for the good. There is no need to seek goodness from any limited form or separate individual, for all authentic goodness in the world comes from the one giver of goodness. So this is a fundamental principle to live by, and one that ensures peace of mind and inner joy. There is a Creator who designs this world with intention, and therefore our lives is not random. Events are not happenstance. We are never alone in this world. Our loving Creator cares about each and every one of us and seeks our inner and outer success. So again, we can become co-creators of ourselves. Part of this principle's broad implication is a deep empowerment in life. It may seem to be a paradox, but when we give ourselves over to faith in our Creator alone, we actually become receptors of the greatest power of the universe. We are vested with a divine image, and in this way are empowered to become co-creators in our life's unfolding. We are given the ability to choose. When a man was created, the verse tells us, let us create man. Who is this plural us? This is the Creator talking to you and me and saying, let us together create who you will become. I'm going to give you the context of your life, your family, your genetics, your body, and certain inclinations, but ultimately you have the choice of knowing how you're able to articulate your life. You have the choice to rise above or submit to the circumstances given to each of us. We are empowered to automatically react to events or to intentionally respond to them. The Creator tells us, as it were, I gave you the template and the empty canvas, the brushes and every kind of paint. Through your choices, we will paint together. But ultimately, what that painting becomes is your choice. That's how we become a co-creator of our experiences. You can be what you want to be. Let's understand this truth of empowerment a little more deeply. To our observation, every creation and form of existence emerges from another form of existence. Think about it. Every action flows from a previous action, and every choice is based on the previous choices. This seems to imply that our lives and the world itself are self-contained, wrapped in a rigid paradigm of cause and effect, action and reaction. If so, the possibility of genuine free choice is merely an illusion. Everything we do is based on what we did yesterday or the day before. So in a linear dimension of time, the past creates the present, and the present inevitably gives rise to the future. The choices we can make today are based on the choices we made yesterday. Yesterday's choices are shaped by our prior ones, and ultimately, all are rooted in our parents' choices, our ancestors' choices, our genetics, and our nurture. We have to ask ourselves, is free choice really possible? Can I change the course of my life? Can I choose to do good? We all yearn for some measure of freedom from our, innate predispositions, so we can feel like we are creating real choices in our life. We may even aspire to genuine freedom, or what existentialists call radical freedom, in which we can truly choose without outer influences or inner reactions directing us. But is such freedom actually attainable? Is it within reach of every one of us? If we examine our lifespan, we might get the sense that our every major choice was at least heavily influenced by an outer or an inner cause or condition. Perhaps we will even get the sense that the narrative of our lives was predetermined, and we never actually made any choices. We were just swept along, our present experience being no more than the results of the past and the predictors of the future. True, in a created, evolving universe, once something is set into motion, the ripple effects they keep on going. Every effect can be traced to a cause, and the cause, in turn, is merely inevitable effect of a previous cause. But again, such is the nature of a self-contained system. To an observer, this may appear to be the case. However, the truth is, the only cause of everything is the Creator, who by nature absolutely free and timeless. This is not a self-contained system. Rather, the world that we live in is an open, fluid, God-contained system. Whereas phenomena and experiences may seem to be predictive causes, every single phenomenon and every experience in this world is actually an effect of the sole cause from Hashem. The only influencer is the Creator. So every creation is influenced only by the Creator and nothing else. There are not multiple causes and influences to attend to in life, like multiple deities demanding attention and service. There's only one. When we place our attention on the one cause, when we serve our Creator, we can then have choice. We can have influence over our present, our future, and even our past. We can actually break the chains of this, what we call the inevitable world. Why do I share this with you, my friends? Because each and every one of us are gifted with a spark a spark of infinite light. Our Creator. What is this spark? It's our soul. We all have a divine inheritance that gives each of us the ability to become co-creators of our lives. We may not control what life places before us, such as whether it's sunny or rainy, or whether another person insults or praises us. We do have the power to choose how we're going to process and respond to such stimuli. We may not be able to control what life throws at us, but we can control what we throw back. We can choose how we're going to live our life no matter what. Wherever we make whenever we do that, a conscious response and decision, guess what? At that moment, we're activating the light of our soul, the divine gift of free will. The one cause allows us to become the cause of our life. I often share the difference between living a life from the outside or from the inside. We can view ourselves as a determining factor or as a predetermined outcome. This is the fundamental choice we all have. We can either be the cause and the creator of our life, or we can be the effect and creation of what life presents. In other words, we can live from the inside out, intentionally influencing and creating and painting the painting of our life, or we can live from the outside in, which means passively being affected, formed, and colored by our environment. Each individual experiences life in two simultaneous realities, the outer world and the inner world. Broadly speaking, the outer world is what comes into us through our senses, what we see, what we hear, what we touch, what we taste, what we smell. Our inner world is how we process, think, and feel about those sensations. This is what you eat. This is very important. But equally important is how we eat. Do we eat with the awareness or with abandon? Do we eat to live or do we live to eat? The what determines what we put into our mouths, how determines how we chew, how we digest, and how we integrate it. Living as if you were at the effect of life means that your external circumstances, what's going on around us, dictate what our internal state of mind should be. This perspective implies that our inner life is solely the effect of all the outside causes that we encounter. Living the creator as a creator of our life means that we decide how we're going to feel and live, and we become the cause of our own life, not just the effect of some random set of circumstances. Let me simplify this idea with an example that our teachers would give us from day-to-day life. Let's say you wake up in the morning, it is rainy and gloomy outside. What happens? Do you automatically feel depressed? If so, you are approaching life from the outside in, as an effect rather than the cause of your reality. It's bad weather outside? No, I'm in a bad mood. Shine. In this scenario, the weather itself is dictating how you're going to feel. The same is true if you wake up in the morning and the sun is shining and you think of yourself, today's going to be a great day. Again, the outside world is dictating to you how you feel and how you're going to feel internally. But if you wake up in the morning, especially on Sunday morning, in preparation for my radio show, and you say, wow, today is going to be a great day, rain or shine, then you are choosing. Then you are creating your day. You are therefore the cause of how your day is going to be, no matter what happens. So when we surrender our free will to the circumstantial sensory stimuluses of the outside world, guess what? Then we live our life merely as an effect. However, if we live our life from the inside out, we choose how we're going to deal with what we encounter and experience. Guess what? Our inner world becomes the active participant in the larger context of life. There are people who must endure some form of personal tragedy in order for them to develop a more compassionate side of their personality. There are those who must be showered with love and acceptance in order for them to feel open and confident. Similarly, there are people that need to be smiled at in order for them to get them to smile. They need to be complimented to feel good about themselves. And conversely, they feel down when they are criticized. These are all instances of living from the outside in. Their external circumstances dictate their lives. Place them in a beautiful, loving environment, and they feel wonderful. Place them in a cramped, stressful place, they feel terrible. People who allow circumstances to dictate their inner state tend to blame everyone and everything around them for how and why their life is unfolding in such a manner. True, others may have wronged or hurt them, but instead of owning their feelings and choosing how to respond, they end up living as victims. Yes, there's a lot to be improved in the world. Certainly, some people start life off in better circumstances than others, but our thoughts are ours. We have the ability, when we are connected to our Creator, to live creatively, not reactively or hopelessly. Additionally, each soul, every one of us, needs its conditioning and challenges in order to rise, shine, and flower. Each person's experience is intricately designed and overseen by the ultimate designer to ensure the conditions for that individual to reach their maximum spiritual potential. Complaining and blaming does not allow this potential to unfold. Then there are people who live from the inside out. Despite their pain, they choose to be compassionate. Despite being rejected by others, they choose to show friendship and generosity. Such people choose how they're going to interact with others, and they do not wait to first see how others will interact with them. And on account of their self-generated love and positivity, people around them tend to respond in kind. We never really find ourselves in a predicament. We place ourselves in a predicament. Usually, we either choose to be in that situation or we choose not to choose and remain in that situation, reacting with negativity and with blame. But the truth is, we have a divine-like power, the deepest part of ourselves that is part of the Creator. Hashem, who is the influencer, the source, and the cause. This means we always have the power to cease from blaming and get ourselves out of any predicament. Always remember, if you have the power to destroy, you also have the power to repair. If you can place yourself in the predicament, you can certainly remove yourself from it as well. So the more we activate the living relationship with the source of life, the more like the source we become. I often remember that learning in the Talmud, if you walk into a tannery where they work over leather and you walk out smelling like a tannery, you smell like a who knows what. When you walk inside of a room filled with fragrance and perfume, you come out smelling like appropriately, So depends who you hang out with. So the more we hang out with the source, the more we become and live like a creator and the cause of our own life. We are gifted with this spark of holiness. Our soul is a divine inheritance that gives us the ability to become that co-creator of our own lives, so long as we choose to live in harmony with truth. When we are in need, we can pray to that one, to Hashem. And when we sense a fear or feel alone, we can turn to the one, to Hashem, for comfort. Doing so activates that divine spark and allows us to freely choose to climb out of any predicament and to co-create our existence, to paint the picture of our life, as Sybil will tell us, in the most elegant way. Part of cultivating a living relationship with the source of all life is the recognition that the Creator cares about creation. and seeks the ultimate goodness for creation. As explored as we've been discussing, the nature of the creative life is to further life and to bestow goodness to all of his creations. Indeed, as we often say, everything the Creator does is for the best. This allows us to affirm in every situation that this is Gam Zu L'Tova, this too is for the good. As the Creator is good, life is inherently good, and we are inherently good. The Creator imbues the world with deliberate intentions, and nothing is just an accident. In the same way, nothing in our life has ever been random, or an accident, or inherently negative. Our experiences and even all of our choices and actions were designed with a positive purpose, to bring us to realize goodness, hope, value, and meaning to our lives. So the key to our essential goodness is basically consciously returning to align ourselves with our source. And therefore, we are returning and we have the ability for freedom of choice. Any acts of anger, greed, vengeance, or despondency that we have done are invitations to returning. They are wake-up calls showing us that we were choosing not to choose. For whatever reason, we did not properly understand that life is good and that we are good. But even all these things was for the good, because it's never too late to return to that one ultimate goodness and embrace our essential goodness and refocus our lives on doing good. When we make a conscious decision to turn and recognize the Creator, we create the possibility for others to do the same. This is because the more we appreciate the fact that we are a creation of the infinitely good one, the stronger our ability is to choose goodness. And whenever we choose the goodness, we begin to become a model of optimism in the eyes of others. This influences them to become more positive and to follow the paths of doing goodness and kindness. Gradually, everyone around us becomes influenced for the good, drawing everyone into momentum of ever-increasing, marching towards a universal wholeness filled with goodness and kindness. So, my friends, if a person makes a conscious connection with that source of all goodness, this allows us to live with less fear. Ever since the so-called death of God, what has emerged instead is the birth of death. In other words, many people are plagued by a devastating fear of death and old age. People are generally apprehensive about the future, but in our age, they live with more existential anxiety than ever before. When people stop believing in one Creator, they believe in nothing. And as a result, they often start believing in anything. This anything often includes all types of theories, all forms of idol worship, all kinds of relationships, and this in turn fosters even greater fear and more invasive anxiety. People may intellectually accept that we should be responsible in our consciousness, thought and speech and action, and do what we can to make a world a better place, and even be a co-partner in creation, yet they still live without faith and fall into this chronic fear of pessimism. If their underlying subconscious belief is that everything will always end up in disaster, then they think the world is ultimately will end with fire, or the world will end with ice. Doesn't matter. We can do anything we want. In our lives as well, the idol of fear whispers. What does it say? Nothing can be done. Don't make any effort. It's a waste of time. Give up on this, give up on that. If we fear that nothing will ever come of our initiatives, this is really fear of our own greatness. If we believe that we really matter, that we can make a difference in this world, it would burden us with the responsibility and the necessity of leaving our comfort zone. We would sometimes rather just continue to play in the sandbox. With greatness comes responsibility, because it demands of us to do more, to soar, to become much higher, to become more influential. It is easy to back down and live small. Why think you can change the world, and why put so much effort in doing so? You might as well kick back and live humbly and safely, even if it means giving up on your dreams. Greatness, of course, demands great action, great speech, great thinking. It means risking everything you have accumulated through your instinctual self-protection, including your limited identity and your belief throughout your life of being a victim. A major reoccurring theme in the Torah is the directive, do not fear. Indeed, living with fearless openness and vulnerability allows us to risk falling and then getting up again. The inner freedom is based on a positive belief in ourselves, which is rooted in knowing that Hashem, the Creator, is good. We are really not afraid of our smallness, rather of our greatness. We are afraid to dream big for the fear that we will be disappointed. However, if we can return to what we are for a moment, if we can reach out to the Creator in prayer, we can return to a path of co-creation. It is in our hands to make efforts to live fully, but the results are in the hands of the Creator. While we attempt to fill in the content of our narrative, the Creator of the context of life ultimately is in charge. And the Creator, like a good parent, wants us to live big and free without unnecessary anxiety. The great 18th century mystic and teacher known as the Baal Shem Tov lost his parents as a little boy. Yet he grew up to become one of the most positive, life-affirming, holy and wholesome people who ever walked this earth. Perhaps this remarkable self-transformation was rooted in what his father told him right before he passed on. Son, he said, there's nothing to fear besides the Creator himself. The only thing to fear is disappointing our divine parent by not stopping or not stepping up and actively becoming what Hashem created us for. One student of the Baal Shem Tov, whose name was Zusha of Anipali, once quipped, "At the end of my life, when I ascend and meet the heavenly judge, I will not be asked, 'Why were you not like Moses?' Rather, I will be asked, 'Why were you not more like Zusha?' The Creator is good, and we are good, and life is full of opportunities to reveal this in so many different ways. The takeaways that I've learned this morning is the following. As I listen to myself, the first waking moments of the day have the potential for the entire day. We all have thought, speech, and actions. They're called the garments of our souls. The way we go to sleep is the way we wake up. It makes such a difference for the coming day. Thought, speech, and action. I grew up knowing that the first thing we do before we go to bed is action. I take a cup of water, put it in a bowl, and that's what I'm going to wash my hands with the moment I wake up in the morning. I do an action. Then the speech. I say the Shema. I reflect. I say these important prayers, the Shema and the associated paragraphs. So I've done an action, prepared the water, I've said something. Then before I go to sleep, I think. I think about what I've learned that day. I've thought about things that I could have done in a better fashion. I could be more caring and more helpful and more honorable and more everything in life. So we go to sleep with action, first action, then speech, and then thought. When we wake up in the morning, is the exact opposite. The first thing we do when we wake up in the morning, we're thinking. So we think positive things. What do we think about? How God is in front of us. Then we say something, the Moida Ani. And then I wash my hands as an action. So we go to sleep strengthening my action, a positive speech, positive thoughts, wake up with positive thoughts, do an action, and then do a speech, and the action of washing my hands. So our thoughts and words upon awakening are the foundation of all the thoughts and the words throughout the day. When you wake up in that kind of manner, in that organized manner, what we do, what we say, and what we think are on a completely different level throughout the day, to ensure that they resonate with positivity and empowerment rather than being a reactive, a victim kind of attitude. We need to seize the moment, engage in these kind of spiritual practices in the morning. Therefore, upon awakening, we immediately thank the Creator for giving us new life, recognizing the gift of waking up and having one's soul restored to one's body. When a person wakes up, thinks this way, speaks about it, the Moida Ani, giving thanks for the return of our life, of our soul in the morning, what are we actually saying? We're actually expressing a feeling of gratitude that floods our minds with positivity. It helps us to choose to shine that divine spark inside of ourselves and act on what our mission is in this world. It tends to stick with us the entire day. So remember, throughout the day, that we can actually learn, because of the way we control the way we went to sleep and the way we wake up in the morning, we can actually come to recognize that either we can actually either learn to control our world or allow ourselves to be controlled by our circumstances. So when there's this positive go to sleep, let's call it exercise, and waking up, we're coming to realize that we can be in control. I've made the effort to do some action, some positive action. I've done something to speak positive words, and I've thought and reflected on the day in my thoughts. I am in charge of what I am doing. I'm not the victim. I become the leader. We all become the leader. How we respond is our choice. We not be able to control what life throws at us, but we can control what we throw back. Therefore, practice pausing before every response to people and situations. When we pause, what do we do when we pause? We pause for clarity. And when we're pausing, we think, we choose. We choose our response in a very, very positive manner. And I have the custom in my synagogue, every few weeks I get this feeling that I must pause before I begin my speech, Shabbos morning, and literally look at every single person, all the men and the women and the children, and recognize them and thank them for coming, for making that effort, that choice. Because the more we recognize and pause and appreciate the people around us, the more we become proactive, the more we become thoughtful of appreciating everything in life, a life that can be filled with love, with purpose, with serenity. We look forward to continuing this conversation as we go through life in a positive manner, an uplifting manner, where we are not victims, but we can make a life where we can learn to master life rather than to be mastered by it. This is your host, Rabbi Perl. Thank you so much. To continue, have a wonderful, safe week.